Yes, people, welcome back to another AFTV Live. I'm joined by Turkish. Turkish, everything's blessed right now because I'm in a very, very good place right now. Obviously, Arsenal being superb. Things are really good. Just in general life so far. And yeah, I thought today we'd have a nice chilled one. Now, I see a lot of people in the comments getting a slightly bit, rattled in the comments. They're having their own discussions, but this is what it's about. It's a debate. It's nothing. We're not comparing people. It's not like we're saying one's worse than the other, but there is a conversation of when Jesus is back fit, does he go straight in? I also want to just give Eddie a lot of his flowers. I think a few of us have been advocates of that in recent times. I mean, he's over. For me, I put my hand up and say, you know what? You've proved me completely wrong. Yes, I didn't completely say, Eddie's a bad striker ever, but now I'm like, if Eddie's in the starting lineup, that's fine. There's not even me like blinking an eye here. I'm not thinking even when Jesus was fit, it'd be nice to have a conversation on people's thoughts on that. There's an England call up should that be happening at some point with Eddie Nketiah? Is he at that stage yet? Is there still more to prove? Questions along that side. There's a lot to discuss about the numbers since, the World Cup, since it finished. Eddie Nketiah's numbers, Gabriel Jesus' contributions to the Arsenal side and compared to Eddie's contributions to the Arsenal team. Before we get into that, I don't know if you saw this online, yeah? I believe it was in Uganda. The Arsenal fans were celebrating. They got arrested, so they got for celebrating. I'll show you. Have you not seen it now? Let me read this out.
Celebrating what?
Arsenal winning against Man United.
I swear.
In Uganda, I've got it here. If you guys haven't seen it, it's killed me. 8 Arsenal fans have been arrested for celebrating their victory against Manchester United in Uganda. The police said the fans went on a victory parade without seeking permission. Free my brothers in Uganda. I shouldn't laugh.
That's a weird one, though.
It's bad. And do you know what? I thought it was fake, but there was reports of it. I read it up on it today, and this is a legit story. Just a little random one I thought I'd throw in if people hadn't seen that. But it sent me. I'll be honest, I was crying with laughter, and I was like, oh no, that's actually serious that they've been arrested. But anyway,
that's mad.
Free my brothers, a victory parade, Fair play to them. I'm glad they're enjoying this Arsenal team so far. All right, well let's just get into discussion about Eddie Nketiah. I know at times you've been like, not that you've doubted him, but you said, Jesus and him different levels.
No, I doubted him.
Oh, I'm glad.
I'm not shy to say my opinion or what my opinion was.
Tell it.
I don't give a shit what people say about flip-flopping and all of that stuff. At the end of the day, opinions change, and they are changing with Eddie Nketiah.
Still changing.
Of course, it's still changing. A few games doesn't tell the whole story, but at the same time,
big games, some of them. To be fair, not
all of them. West Ham, Brighton, 2 goals against United. Obviously, the Oxford one is different. But in terms of the league, his league performances, I thought would miss Jesus a lot more than we have. I think a large part of that is testament to Eddie and the goals he's been getting, but a larger part is probably testament to Arteta and what he's building and built here so far in terms of the team, not necessarily relying upon one player more so than the system. And I think the system is in place and the players are on board. So we've seen Eddie come in and hit the ground running in a goal scoring sense. And I'm happy for it. Long may that continue, because if that continues, then we'll have 2 strikers, very different strikers. Can't compare them, in my opinion. Very different strikers that can offer something, whether they start, whether they come off the bench. Well, listen, my option is always going to be Jesus, because...
So when he comes back to us, you're saying what? Jesus?
No, obviously, listen, Jesus is still... He was speaking to Khabib against United. I don't know if you saw the clip. 4 or 5 weeks, he said to Khabib. So let's say it's looking like 6 weeks until we see him back, and maybe on the bench, trying to regain match sharpness and whatnot.
I didn't see that clip, by the way. But I knew they were together. I saw the photo of them.
He said to him 4 or 5 weeks. So if Eddie maintains this scoring form up until Jesus is back in the squad and back available again, then it would be very harsh to just literally drop Eddie for Jesus to come back in, because form and confidence is a big thing. And that's what Eddie's bringing right now. He's bringing good form. His confidence levels are rising. So we'll discuss that matter more so when Jesus does become available, maybe when he's on the verge of becoming available. But at the same time, Jesus offers a lot more in terms of a player than Eddie. But Eddie is probably more a fit for the out-and-out striker role. but that's two good options to have.
Is it fair to say a lot more? Because he's been pinning the ball very well, trapping it, passing off. Yes, not as much as Jesus when it comes to maybe the assist side, but he's not. I don't think the gap's huge. I know before maybe the United game or Tottenham game, I was kind of like, they're two different players, that's 100%. One can play all across the free. Eddie is just a fox in a box poacher. But I do feel like quality-wise, that of course Jesus, I think technically is better, but it's not as far as I think we first initially thought with what they bring to the team, whether that's goals or assists.
See, you're drawing me out in a sense. Because I'm not here to...
I know, I'm pressing you on this one today.
You know what, I've probably disrespected Eddie in the past with comments I've made about him, and I don't want to make that mistake again. You live, you learn, you mature and all of that, and I don't want to disrespect him here. And I don't think it is a disrespect to say Jesus, for me, is clear.
That's your opinion.
As a football player. That's not to say Eddie doesn't bring what he brings in a different aspect to Jesus, but if we're comparing in terms what they bring, I think it's easy to forget what Jesus has done in his first 4 months at Arsenal in the first half of the season before the World Cup. Jesus, one of our best signings in a long time. It may be one of our best signings of the Emirates era.
Wow, is it fair to say in this it's a short period though, But or is it you? That's your eye and what you see. Listen, don't get me wrong, he's been superb. But is that you just
on the ball? There isn't many players that we've had better than Jesus in the Emirates era. That's for sure. Obviously, people can mention Cazorla. People might mention Van Persie, Sanchez, maybe a Fabregas, who kind of
And Martin Odegaard be brought into in a conversation here.
That's another cultured. He's another cultured footballer, 100%. But they're different as well, because I wouldn't say Jesus is necessarily cultured in the way Odegaard is. Odegaard is a bit more laid back with it all. Jesus is a bit more frantic with his movement and unpredictable when he's on the ball. But Jesus is different cloth to a lot of players we've had coming in over the years. So I think we can't forget what Jesus brings to the side. At the same time, credit to Eddie, because a lot of people are forgetting and a lot of people aren't missing Jesus as much as we thought we would have. That's credit to Eddie, and that's credit to Mikel for the system he's built and the competition and the players wanting to play for him, wanting to play for the badge. It's been a long time since we've had players that have lived up to the expectation of Arsenal Football Club, which is high standards. So credit to Eddie, 100%. When Jesus comes back, we'll talk more about where we're at in that conversation. But at the same time, like I said, he's got 4 goals in 6 in the league. Let's say Jesus comes back towards the end of March. By then, Eddie might have a further 8 games, let's say. In those 8 games, if he bags another 6 goals, then of course there's an argument to say it'd be very harsh to drop him as soon as Jesus comes back. 100%. That's fair. But at the same time, Jesus brings something completely different. And in football now, in modern day football, we've seen with Pep, we've seen with Klopp, rotation is key, fluidity is key. So we'll tackle that when it comes. We
will. Now, listen, I'm enjoying this conversation. Yes, I was pressing on you there, Turk, to kind of get the answers on Eddie Nketiah and your thoughts. Only because we're going to go through a lot of, not numbers, but just some information, some stats I've got written down here. And apologies, this isn't a Fan Zone live today, but I believe there is a Fan Zone either Wednesday or Thursday. So make sure you look out for that, where you guys can come in, get involved, talk to us live, and speak to everyone really on the live. But if you can't do that, the chat is the perfect place. This is what this is about, discussion, hearing from you guys. I see super chats flying in already on this this topic and conversation. I do just want to run through some bits. Obviously, a lot of people speaking about what we were discussing there about Eddie so far this season since coming in from the World Cup. But not that people forget, but obviously towards the tail end of the season, he came in, he filled that role, was the informed striker. Granted, we didn't reach top 4, but the 2 goals against Chelsea, the other couple games always scored as well. Those were key, and before that he mentioned about he just gives me a run of games and I'll prove to you. Again, we're seeing that now. 6 and 6 in all competitions, which we're going to talk about. Obviously 4 goals in the league. He's in very good form. He went away in summer and he worked on himself. He worked on his game. Definitely improved as well. And I really have been liking this Eddie Nketiah so far. And there was links to obviously move to Palace and German side Borussia Mönchengladbach as well. They wanted him, but Arteta was was adamant that he wanted Eddie Nketiah to stay as much as they had left it right to the end. These clubs were looking to try and get Eddie on a free transfer, but Mikel Arteta said, no, I want you here. And he had belief in him, and he's right to. People always question about Mikel Arteta, Turkish, about, does he have a plan B or a different style of play? And it just seems like it's this one way of playing, and we're going to stick to this, and that's how we beat teams. We've just spoke about Jesus and Eddie Nketiah. They are different players. Let's be real about that. Eddie Nketiah is a 9. Mm-hmm. Yes, he does well at holding up the ball recently, but he's more of a fox in the box, can poach a goal, get a goal, and high in the press. Gabriel Jesus is a player that can play across the front three. He drops in deeper. There actually is a heat map on Sky Sports. If you look at their Sky Sports of this season, they should have the heat maps of Eddie Nketiah and Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus is pretty much everywhere. Yeah. Eddie Nketiah is mainly targeted in the box. So they are different players. Gabriel Jesus, 5 assists, 5 goals. Eddie Nketiah, 4 goals, no assists. So Mikel Arteta has found a way to, when Gabriel Jesus is out, to work towards, I guess, I don't want to just say Eddie Nketiah's strengths, because the other players are scoring. They're having the best goal scoring seasons, the likes of Martinelli and Bukayo Saka so far. Bukayo Saka are currently on 8 goals, Martin Odegaard 7, Gabriel Martinelli 7 as well. But Arteta must have changed something to accommodate to Eddie Nketiah to be scoring as well, because he's in good scoring form. So I just want to give the hats off to him, and kind of a reminder of the back of last season, he was stepping up and he's consistently improving on his game. He's still a young player. I speak about this all the time with you off camera, but I speak with obviously someone close to Marcus Rashford, very close to him, and he told me, like, I've watched Eddie Nketiah from very, very, very young. There was a player in him from day dot. He's a natural finisher. Give him time, have belief in him, and we're seeing that now. But I had to bring that up, and I had to say, yeah, listen, there is a good conversation to have between Jesus and Eddie Nketiah. And another way to look at it as well is there's them off the ball and out of possession, what they bring to the side. I love Jesus when the ball's in the air and he does that nudge and he controls it down, the technical ability, him getting around players, what they produce. And I've got a little bit, again, extract here from Sky Sports about, when they need runners. I believe this is from Pep Guardiola on Gabriel Jesus, said, when we need runners and players that help a lot with our high intensity and high pressing, he is the best in the world, said the City boss. Thanks to him, we can stay high and be so aggressive. He's talking about Gabriel Jesus there. And then I've got another little bit here from a bit of stats from Sky saying, Nketiah is outperforming Jesus in pressures per 90 in the league, but the Brazilian is superior when it comes to possession, 1 in the attacking third, interceptions and tackles. Jesus refined the art of pressing under Guardiola and is more efficient at regaining possession there. Now, what you guys are going to take from that, what I took from that, Nketiah is very good at, well, in football, we learned this when I was having my meetings with my club about pressing. He's very direct, Eddie Nketiah, when it comes to pressing. So just closing the line of the pass and closing the ball down. So he's very aggressive in that, right? So
Jesus is the same.
Exactly. But Jesus, I think, is more smarter when it comes to it. I think Jesus, he angles his run more. He sets up traps for Arsenal. So he will angle his press where we will retain possession, but it won't be directly from him nicking the ball. Eddie Nketiah is more, I will get to the ball first. Jesus is more, I will close you down, so it forces you to go into where I want you to go. I think Eddie Nketiah, for me, he's more direct and aggressive at it, and instead of the smarter pressing. That's what I see from my eye. That's my own personal opinion. I don't know how you feel on that, but it's 2 different styles of pressing, but still both very effective in my opinion, and both work.
Yeah, I don't think we've changed our style of play to accommodate Eddie.
No.
I just think that
he's had to work.
People like Saka and Martinelli have had to do a bit different whilst Eddie plays, because Jesus is great at creating space in behind for them to run into, whereas Eddie more so likes to dwell in and around the box.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main change. I don't think it's a system change. I just think you expect different from the Saka and Martinellis and the people around the forward than the system all changing for Eddie coming in or Jesus coming back in. I still think they bring similar traits in the pressing for sure.
Yeah.
Whether one's smarter with it, whether one's more direct with it. Listen, pressing is pressing for me. I'm just, I come from an age of football where it wasn't so particular in certain positions, and you just wanted your strikers to get you goals. You wanted your wingers to put the balls into the box, and you wanted your midfield to break up play and keep the ball moving. Now it's very different. So
it's like a chess game.
And Mikel Arteta is the first manager we've had that has that modern eye for the game, the modern philosophy. So I'm still learning, and a lot of us are still learning 100%. About the modern. Yeah, we've all watched Man City over the years. We've all watched Liverpool in the way they play as well. But at the same time, there's nothing like seeing it for your club.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I'm gonna get in some super chats before they disappear straight away. Big up everyone getting involved in the conversation. Ride26 says, free the guys from Uganda. Parade's already, yeah. Palm to face. The energy's mad. A parade without permission. And they got that is honestly, it must be going off in Uganda. Imagine if we win the league. Imagine what would happen. The whole country
it'll be mad.
Mad.
Everywhere, worldwide, people will be going crazy. You've got a lot of fans across the world, let alone here in Finsbury Park. And
facts, it's a massive club around the world. Lawrence here with a super chat says, now that we have signed Nketiah as a cover for Saliba and Gabriel, where does that now put Austin Trusty in the pecking order? I watched this kid play out here in the MLS for Colorado and he looked decent. Now, there is a conversation I had planned to talk about the players that could be making outgoing moves from Arsenal. I think it's a relevant topic to speak about, especially with the signs we're now making, the likes of what happens to Reece Nelson, Pepe, Cedric Suarez, even Rob Holding, been a really good servant of the club so far. I don't want him to leave, but when you see more signings, you see Austin Trusty, he's just mentioned there. We've obviously got Nketiah as well. These players, is it Arsenal going in a direction where, you know, it's time for them to move on, or did you hold on to depth and use these players?
I don't think it's a conversation. Sometimes your time is up, and at the end of the day, you can always improve your team, improve your squad, and there's players in certain positions that will be seeing the exit in the next 6 months. Obviously, we're in a much better position than we was 2 years ago. You know, 2 years ago, if you asked me keep or sell, the majority I'm looking at saying, listen, we need to improve, we need to sell, we need to just, you know, see them out however we can see them out. Now we're in a very different space. So
did the team, I don't want to say suffer, but feel less equipped getting rid of those players I mentioned there? So Cedric Suarez, a Reece Nelson, a Pepe, a Rob Holding. Are these players that I might be missing? I think there's one more as well. But do you feel like if you was in charge, you know, maybe we should be looking to kind of move them on, get a fee for them, and then look to again build? Or would you hold on to some Reece Nelson, homegrown talent? Yeah, but he might return back from his injury and be someone who might be useful.
It's obvious. I like Reece Nelson. Reece Nelson's one of the youngsters I thought that was going to lead the new era. In terms
so did
of
I, actually.
Boys. But at the end of the day, sometimes things just don't work out. No disrespect, but you know, Rob Holding, in my opinion, his time overall at Arsenal hasn't worked that well. In recent times, he's backed up quite well, but there's always room for improvement. And I'm not looking to improve on Saliba and Gabriel because they've been quality for us, 100%. Yeah. But I'm looking to improve them by adding the necessary competition to have them looking over their shoulder.
Yeah.
And I don't think Saliba's looking over his shoulder for Rob Holding. So position, I don't think Saka's looking over his shoulder at Reece Nelson.
Nah.
You need to add competition, and that helps the people in front of them improve.
So no loans. Only reason I say loans because Lokonga was the last player, by the way. That was on my list of players that Arsenal might be considering. You know, where's the next step for these players? Lokonga, I think, could definitely benefit from a loan. Could Reece Nelson benefit for a loan, or do you think, you know what, him as a player will probably benefit maybe from going to a club in the Premier League? I think he has quality after his injury and maybe signing. Or would you say we want to hold on to him? Homegrown talent, still has abundance of talent. It's just a shame the injuries.
I've liked Reece Nelson, like I said, but at the same time, I think we can improve on him.
Okay.
So that's the bottom line of it.
Yeah, it's not negative. Some players he might see, you know, a better chance for him to excel as well in his career by getting more game time at another club.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, let's go into some more of the super chats. Hayne says, Cecil, any plans for an Nketiah dance video? Your defense is in trouble.
That's you, mate.
Nketiah no, you can be in it though. You can do it. Just little Nketiah.
That's your market.
Your defense is in trouble. Nketiah in the. Hey, that song is so addictive. It's so addictive, bro. I can't stop singing it. But yeah, no dance videos for Nketiah, unfortunately. He's not a new signing. I wish I was here when he was a new signing. Well, he wasn't ever in the signing. He came from HLM, but no dance video for Nketiah. He's here. Only maybe a new signing. Actually, no, I haven't really done a dance really for as much as you told me and wanted me to do a dance for, you know, Nketiah, the Polish dance. Yeah, you had Mudryk planned. You wanted to see Ukrainian dance. Like, I'm kind of stirring away from it because some of the dances from these countries are mental. But it is my market. You are right. You're very right with that. You're very right. AFC Max with a super chat says, Cecil, that Jakub Nketiah intro was class worth of skullduggery. Class appearance by Matisse. Cecil, how do you come up with wacky ideas? Do you know what? I'll be honest, I come to the studio sometimes, I'm on the train and I'm just like, we've got to do something. I don't know how that one came about. I just ran in. I said I have an idea.
We're trying to give you one.
Yeah, that was
a good one.
I appreciate that. Yeah. From you as well, I appreciate that, because I'll tell you, you might
that
be
was
like,
good. That was good.
I came in, it was yesterday, and I just said, yo, I just had an idea. I ran with it. Some people thought I was mad. People in the office thought I was mad. I said, let's just try it. And then, yeah, it came out actually better than I imagined. So big up everyone that's involved. Big up Ty. Big up the editors as well. They're magic. Big up Adrian as well from Poland. Great feature. And obviously, finally, Matisse, his little cameo there, ringing Todd Bowley. What's yours? Another super chat here from Michael says, Marseille should be part of this conversation. Here we go. Don't worry. You lot, listen, I love you lot. I love you lot in the comments, because I love and hate you, because you always steal my show ideas and my plans. But all good. We're moving on to it right now. Michael Anderson with the super chat says, Martinez should be part of this conversation. Rotate 2 of the 3 depending on the opposition. Jesus creates chaos that Eddie can capitalize on. Turkish, so we're going to, just on that, so there's Martinelli in the conversation now, Eddie Nketiah, Jesus, and we have to throw in Trossard, because me and you, we both think he's leaning more, yes, he's a left-sided player, but he's leaning more for cover. For me, we don't know about if Arteta wants this, but yeah, Eddie Nketiah, like, he's a natural goal scorer, 7 goals, both footed. He is a finisher. That is more competition, I think, more for Eddie Nketiah and Jesus. Do you see it that way as well? Do you think Martinelli should be in this conversation, or do you think, you know what, Martinelli doesn't need the pressure to come out of that role? Or
No, Martinelli's better from the wings. I like him running at defenders more so than someone in behind. I think Martinelli's best trait is picking up the ball, running at defenders. So putting him on the wing makes sense for me. Yeah, he could potentially do a job up front, but right now Eddie's doing the job, so we don't need to necessarily worry about that position. We haven't got anyone behind Eddie with Jesus that injured. But we just got to hope for the best in that department. But at the end of the day, Trossard's also played that position, probably more so a false 9 than an out-and-out like Eddie. But yeah, with Martinelli, I'm looking at him sticking in his position.
Okay, I like that. And I see a lot of people always say, oh, put him up front. Martinelli can play up front. You know, he can... Scoring goals, yes, but I wouldn't want to see Martinelli up front. That's not the position I want to see him. I think he's very dangerous on the wings. I think you're right there. But when it comes to that front up top position, that number 9, Eddie Nketiah in great form right now. Shouldn't have any competition or any worries about him, losing this spot. Jesus is gonna have to work his way back into the side. That's what I think all Arsenal fans have wanted. Competition in that role. I know a lot of us said, like, we want a different style of striker, maybe a big brute. We have a different style of striker. It's just not the weghorse sort of striker. Which, if I'm honest, I'm actually quite happy with. And I wanted to say, gone are the days of that big physical number 9, but I suppose Haaland is doing Haaland things. So
yeah, you can't say gone are the days.
Yeah, it's still there. It's still.
And football swings and roundabouts. That I'm sure that era will come back into fashion one day. Yeah,
I think very soon. I think it's not completely gone. Haaland is proving that he's physical, he's powerful, he's big in the box, he's a finisher. He's just like, yeah. I mean, we can read some stats actually on Eddie Nketiah and the Haalands of the world. Just quickly before we go to the next super chat. So the top scorers since the World Cup has ended. Number 1, sitting top of that table, is Marcus Rashford with 8 goals. Number 2 is Erling Haaland with 7 goals. The graphic should be on the screen right now. And then in third place is Eddie Nketiah with 6 goals. This is in all competitions. But yeah, Riyad Mahrez underneath him with 5 and James Ward-Prowse underneath him with 5 there, which is, for me, that's a favourable stat. 6 goals, 1 underneath Erling Haaland, a tremendous in-form striker in Eddie Nketiah there. 6 goals in all competitions since he's been back. Something to be for him to be proud of. I know my question mark was, look, I've seen you do it last season, so I don't want to be like, oh, you have to do it in big games. But right now we're top of the Premier League, and to hold that, you have to have your striker scoring. There's not really a question. If you're not bringing in the other players, you have to be scoring, and Eddie Nketiah is doing that. And the big game for me was United. It was Tottenham. He didn't score in that, but he had a good game. Yeah. United as well, and he proved it. He proved it there. Just some numbers quickly. Nketiah versus Jesus, just a head-to-head. Goals scored, 0.61. These are rankings per 90. 0.61. Nketiah is in 10th there. Jesus is in 32nd place with 0.37. Just expected goals. Nketiah is at 0.81. He's 3rd place in the Premier League with expected goals, where Jesus is 9th in 0.58. And then, do you know what? Lastly, I'm just going to do big chances created. Eddie Nketiah is 3rd, 0.61. And then, big chances scored, not created, chances scored. And Gabriel Jesus is 0.29 in 19th place. Just some numbers there. Again, off Sky Sports, you can find all these numbers.
But those
there.
numbers suit out and out strikers, though.
Yeah. If I went to the assists, there's an assist graphic here. Eddie Nketiah, chances created. Jesus is better there. You can see 1.62. He's 50th place. Eddie Nketiah is 220th. Expected assists. He's better. So Jesus does more of the bringing in. We see that. I don't need to read through stats to tell you this. With your eyes, you can see Jesus brings in the players more. He floats around different pockets. He has 5 assists. I mean, that's the main stat you need to see compared to Eddie Nketiah's 0 when it comes to assists. So yeah, you can see that clearly here. And Jules 1, Gabriel Jesus has more than Eddie Nketiah. So they are different types of strikers, but they both benefit the side. I don't see Jesus coming back into the side, right, and trying to every player wants to improve, but focus more on, I guess, goal scoring. I don't see Eddie Nketiah changing his whole game to be more of an assister. I think he sticks to what he's best at, scoring goals, box to box, and poaching.
Offer something different to Jesus. So when Jesus does come back and eventually takes his spot back, we know that we have someone on the bench that's different and that can get a goal. Yeah. You got to embrace your strengths as a striker for sure. Let me read this super chat from Ali says. Ali Salam says, Eddie is a quality poacher. Jesus is an all-round footballing wizard. I guess that kind of links to what you've been saying. The next phase for us is to have 20 top quality guys who rotate regularly to sustain challenges across 4 fronts year after year. I guess just you want more. He wants more depth in each position, and I think a lot of fans are wanting that. For you, Turkish, I'll ask you this before I carry on with the super chats. I think I've asked you this before, which is a shame. I asked about more signings. Do you see us getting one more signing? I think you said, I don't expect us to get one more signing, but you would want one more signing. I don't think we're going to get a signing that's going to aid our first team squad. If it's going to be anyone, it looks like that young 18-year-old right back, but that's one for the future more than it is one for now, especially when you look at options at right back, his age and, his profile. I don't think we're going to get the midfielder that I think we want.
Do you think we need it? Do you think we need that midfielder to I
think we do, but at the end of the day, if injuries and luck remain on our side, then we might not need that midfielder to come in. It all depends on how the next 4 months pan out. At the end of the day, Xhaka and Partey, in my opinion, they need further competition, someone to look over their shoulder for. But if we don't, we don't. At the end of the day, I'm more focused on where we are in the league and what we're doing than focused on what could potentially be our downfall. But at the end of the day, if the time comes and we have to speak about that, then we have to speak about that. I just hope we don't.
Okay. Do you know what? I want to read some of the comments because I'm just going to super chats, but the comments are really good. Big up everyone in the comments. I've seen this one. Name says, don't forget Jesus has won 4 Premier League titles. That is something we need on the pitch for mentality. A good comment there. However, Eddie Nketiah, mentality is, I hear that. But there are so many leaders on this pitch right now for Arsenal Football Club. They're starting 11. Listen, Martin Odegaard's our captain, right? You see him, he dictates at times. I saw Thomas Partey in the North London derby running back, I spoke about this before, and pointing and demanding players where they need to be to stop this counter from going in. I then saw Xhaka before the game doing that, stretching, speaking to the players, getting their heads in the game and getting focused. I then saw Zinchenko. He had a conversation with the team before as well, and this is all online as well on YouTube, and I believe he said, take in what is happening right now. We need to be challenging for the title. He said things like, this is a moment. All the fans are here for you. Look how loud this is. This is at the Man United game. And he speaks about it. It's all on YouTube. He was being a leader there. Tell him that he had the whole of the players gripped in what he was saying. There's many leaders. Listen, not saying that Jesus doesn't provide that as well, because of course he does. But the mentality, I feel like, is definitely there in this Arsenal side. I don't watch Arsenal now and think, you bottled that challenge. You're not really in it. You're not focused. You're lazy. I don't see that mentality. You don't care. I do not see that.
Jesus is a part of that, though.
He is. But without him in the side, it's not missing. Truth?
I don't know. It's hard to say because at the end of the day, you don't need to be in the starting 11 to still have your leadership provide. It's true though. It's true. He's still in and around the squad.
Yeah, I see him cuddling Eddie Nketiah after the game.
You think they don't talk? He's still not in and around the training ground talking to the players. Of course, he knows what it takes to win a Premier League title. So I'm sure his leadership and his experience is still showing one way or another, regardless of his injury.
Okay. J Neil with a comment says, I said about Eddie for years, been horrible listening to and arguing with people trying to say how good he can be. So pleased he's coming good so others can see it now. Vince AJ says, we will surely need mentality and maturity of Jesus for the latter part of the season. Eddie is good though. I'm really enjoying this. It's a conversation that can be had. Jason here in the super chat says, you think Martinelli's dip in form is because Jesus isn't there? Jesus usually links up play on the left. Who did I speak with?
Spacing behind, isn't it? So he could have a part to play. At the end of the day, he's also a young player, Martinelli. So young players are going to have dips and they're going to have high points across seasons and years and whatnot. So it could be linked to Jesus for sure, because like I said, Jesus creates the spacing behind for the Martinelli and Saka on the pitch.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I believe, listen, I think it was with, I don't know if it was with Shaw's. I did a fan cam and we spoke about, I didn't do one, but I was obviously interviewing, but I spoke about how, I believe, who was it? Yeah, Eddie Nketiah links up well with Saka. And I was like, I was at the English boys linking up. And then I said, yeah, but Jesus and Martinelli link up very well. And it's like an understanding because of the Brazilians. Obviously, they don't have truth to that, but from that comment there, that super chat does make me think, like, you know, they understand each other a bit more. And I suppose what you mentioned there, though, the in behind runs from Martinelli. But it is interesting. I think Eddie and Saka really do link up well. And I think Jesus and Martinelli also are good partnership when playing. Yeah. Something to look at. Sam Attala with a super chat says, if Jesus is fit tomorrow, who would you start? Eddie. Straight. I know Turkish may have a different opinion to me than that, but I just think, look, I play football in a way that, I judge football in a way that if a player's on form, and I know it's the niceties and it's not how football should be, if there's a better player, you may start them. But for me, a player in such form, like Eddie Nketiah, he's clearly a confidence player, has worked on his weaknesses. You don't just drop him. I think Jesus waits. Jesus coming off the bench is still an amazing thing to say or have in this Arsenal side. So if there was a game tomorrow and both are fit, I'm saying you start Eddie. Yeah,
I pretty much agree. Just depends on who the game's against. That's how I see it.
It's the goalposts. Right,
if you're playing a team. Look, Eddie deserves his spot right now, and if you're playing Everton away next or Brentford at home next, then of course you keep Eddie in there, but then you hope that Jesus comes off the bench and gives you something further to think about. But then if you're playing Man City at the Emirates, listen, Jesus takes the attention of defenders a lot more than Eddie Nketiah does, in my opinion. So it all depends on who you come up against, and at the end of the day, the better football player is Jesus.
And that I do agree with, but it also comes down to context as well, people. Like you just said, if they're both fit, and you've got a game tomorrow, realistically, Arsenal will be building and working towards the playing style they have with Eddie Nketiah up top now. Jesus was just available. Not that much was changed, but you still stick to what the team are fresh with and what has been working. You stick with Eddie Nketiah, in my personal opinion, when it comes to that. Now let me just get this super chat up real quick. Here we go. The next one, and I will be taking comments as well. Bentner Banter with a super chat says, Harry Kane 0 trophies, Nicholas Bentner 1. Serie A, 1 Serie A, 1 FA Cup and 1 Polka. Who's better? I'm not even answering that one. So X-Cool TV says, Turkish, don't forget you will do that dance when we win the league. You promised.
I didn't promise anything.
No, we have it on record though. He did say it. He didn't promise, but he did say it. And I hope, don't worry, I'll try, guys. I'll try.
So you know me. If I don't want to do something, I ain't gonna do something. Yeah, I'm not an entertainer. I'm an Arsenal fan. Yeah, that's it. You're the entertainer.
I'm an Arsenal fan, of course. But yes, I do like to entertain this. But it is what it is. Haynes says, Turkish, can you press Jordan into naming Xhaka, please?
Oh, we've already recorded this week's Forever Arsenal. It's out 8 p.m, maybe 9 p.m, 8 p.m, I think. So it won't be on this week's show, but maybe next week.
I'm not going to thank you for the super chat for the next person. I'm not going to read out his super chat name because it's a hella pause next to it.
Mr. BP, that's what he's called.
There you go, Mr. BP. Thank you for your super chat. Is he, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you say his name when you read it?
Well, that's why I know him as Mr. BP. Shorten that.
All right, so he says with super chat, if Odegaard leads us to the Premier League title, continuing his immense form, does he overtake Ozil and Fabregas as one of the best Arsenal cams and AMs?
I wouldn't even put Ozil and Fabregas in the same sentence.
Fabregas is clear of them.
Different.
Yeah.
Different.
Ozil, Martin Odegaard, yeah. For me, if we win a Premier League title, and he's the
If he wins a Premier League title, he definitely overtakes Ozil.
Ozil, yeah, definitely.
100%.
Like, I'm sorry, I know it's small things, and this is the young footballer in me when I was watching, but that flip-flap or reverse flip-flap pass while running for Martin Odegaard to play that ball through to Xhaka.
Yeah.
Like, the level of technique, now don't get me wrong, Ozil did that hitting into the ground shot. And I tried doing that and then he broke my foot. So there's intelligence behind that. That is technique to another level. I still can't do that to this day. But these little things, they make you just another level. You see the game in a different way. But for me, Martin Odegaard, if you bring Arsenal to the Premier League title whilst captain the side at your young age, yeah, man, for me, over Ozil. But yeah, Fabregas, his age at the time he come through and the qualities he possessed, and yeah, mad.
Fabregas is,
he's clear. Nick with a super chat says, do you think Zinchenko could play in the midfield if Partey got injured? Maybe that's why we haven't went for a midfielder. I don't think. Do you think that?
Of course he could, but then obviously Tierney at left back doesn't offer the same as Zinchenko at left back, so the system would change somewhat.
I don't think Arteta's. Listen, if I look at it in holistically, I don't think Arteta's thinking that Zinchenko could play in that. He can play in that midfield because you see him pick up the space, but I don't think he's there to stop the ball, stop the interceptions, be aggressive and break up play. That for me, I don't think is his game. While Zinchenko has that free role to drop into midfield and right and left, that causes the defending team so many problems. Because listen, I've played in many games where if a fullback ends up in the midfield, you're asking each player, who's marking him? Whose man is that? And I don't know. I still, when I was watching it on the watch line, I kept saying, like, how do you stop that? Like, and why are we never getting caught out by going down that wing? It's always seems like Zinchenko's there when he needs to be there, but when we're in attack, he's anywhere. That's not what Partey does. Partey is he's a centre defensive mid that holds his position, and he's the cornerstone. He's a staple part in that midfield. I don't think Zinchenko offers that. I think he offers offensively going forward in a free role and causes the team problems. They don't know who's picking him up. I don't think he goes into centre defensive mid for me. I just think he can play in the midfield technically because he's good at picking up spaces, but not actually what our Partey brings to this Arsenal side. I hope I'm making sense when I'm speaking there. Right. Super chat from Abdullah says, not taking anything away from Eddie, but Jesus walks right in. Jesus still provides that extra spark and skill that Eddie doesn't have. Eddie, he's saying for the Europa League. I also want to say,
that's fair.
That is fair. That's a fair comment. But I also want to say that be prepared, people, that, when Jesus comes back, there's got to be a calling in time for him. He's coming back from a big injury. He had surgery. It's not a you walk straight back in and we see the heights of what he was before. Obviously there could be that, but there's a small percentage, in my opinion, from when I see players come back from surgical injuries. It's going to take a bit of time to bed him back in, get him back to match tempo. And it's not even match tempo. It's top of the league form tempo. And yes, there's a difference. There's a difference when you're a team that's playing the style of play that Arteta wants, and you're running down the league to just being a mid-table team or chasing top four. You have to get to an intensity that, he has to rebuild back into. Back with a super chat here. Adam Greet says, front three, Jesus, Eddie and Saka. Martinelli runs down blind Addies and slows the attack by holding onto the ball too long a lot of the time. Your thoughts?
I don't think that's fair.
He's saying Jesus on the left, Eddie up top, Saka on the right.
But it's an option to play them three, 100%. I mean, you can. Jesus is more than capable of doing that. But I think it's a bit unfair on Martinelli to say runs down blind alleys and slows down play, because often you see him speed up play and often you see him, make bursts into the box off the back of his runs. So I think it's a mixed bag, but that's part of Martinelli's quality. It's unpredictable.
That's a football trait. That's a skill.
And what's he got? 7 goals in the league.
7 goals, bro.
Yeah,
7 goals.
Yeah, I think that's unfair.
Yeah. For goodness sake, someone's agreeing with you. Jonathan James says Arteta said Jesus is still a huge voice in the team. Yeah, well, I'm just saying there's also other leaders that are also big voices, and without it, I don't think much changes. I'm not hating on, I'm just saying. Did you see in the game against United? I don't know if you saw this, it was on TV. Partey I've never seen him sprint so far. There was a time
Bro,
he ran past like 3 Arsenal players, and he's never been that. Bro, I don't know what he's been eating. I don't know what changed, but he blitzed.
He's got it in him, but obviously he's got injury problems as well. So sometimes that burst can cause muscle injuries. So
fab, he looked like Usain, bro. I just see his big. I've never even the way he was running was what it was like. He was stomping the ground, cuz
yeah, he
I just was like
eating up the ground,
bro. Sorry, I just came to my mind. I was just thinking about like Partey when we were speaking about it then, like what levels is he hit, and he's so important. But that run, I just remember him running past the players. I was thinking, Ross, Zubair. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. With a super chat says, I think Mudrik's strong links to Arsenal could have affected Martinelli's confidence because at 100 million you ought to start. I mean, I not that I know this for fact, but as a player, you see that. And a player like Martinelli, young, Brazilian international, in form, enjoying his football. When you see that at a club, it will hurt you in a way. Definitely affect you. That is for sure.
It can make you a better player as well.
Yeah, it can. But when you see price tag like that for a player that's not, I definitely believe that there's definitely truth behind that. Young Gunner with a super chat says, in the summer with Champions League football likely, yep. Who should we be looking at for the midfield? For me, it would be Tielemans on a free, then a class DM, Rice, Nketiah, Ndidi. Otherwise, Bellingham would be a dream. Listen, I got to stop going with the wave, yeah? Tielemans, I never was really sure about Tielemans. I never was, but I kept saying, because everyone was so linked to him and everyone kept telling me like, Tielemans is a good signing, Robbie, remember he was in Orlando, and I even said it in Orlando Florida. I said, is Tielemans really that guy? And everyone got up in uproar like, yeah. I don't know if you did, but it was more Robbie. Of course he is. I never really was sold on Tielemans. There was a video on Twitter, I believe it's on Twitter or it's going around. People, you can find it. Just type in Tielemans, it'll come up. He's running back and he's running like, bro, I wish I had the video saved. I'm going to get up for you to see
I've seen it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like, and obviously that doesn't define the player, but even this season, he hasn't been to the level. He hasn't been great. I don't know what's been down to, but I've never really was on the Tielemans hype. I hope we don't go for Tielemans personally. I believe there is better out there. There definitely is. I like the names like Declan Rice. I wanted Frank Nketiah for a while as well. Ndidi, I don't really know about. I know I don't know if Arsenal have been linked to him. I don't know if he's the right profile of player. But those other two, I'll be happy with. Otherwise, Bellingham would be the dream, and of course he would be. But
if you're in Champions League, you need to think bigger.
We're going to round up very soon. Cesar Campbell with Super Chat says, will Xhaka be considered a legend if we win the league? Turkish, that one's for you.
Just let's talk if it happens.
Turkish 1978 with a Super Chat says, cheer up cuz. Cheer up up the Turkish Gunners.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
He's good, man. He's very good. He's very, 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 very fine. All right, cool. We are going to slowly wrap up towards the end there. But it was obviously the conversation between Jay. It's not even between them because no one needs to. It's not about whether we're comparing or not. Right now, Arsenal in a very good place. But it's nice to have these conversations. And really, if I'm honest, we didn't really speak about Trossard as well. There's more depth now in that front line. I mean, it's a good place where Arsenal are in right now. We can look to the bench and see many options, especially when everyone's fit. I think when everyone's fit now, look at the names. Gabriel Jesus, Trossard, Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Eddie Nketiah. Obviously, you can put in Marquinhos, Fabio Vieira, but those 6 names there, to me, that looks like strength and depth. Sounds like strength and depth to me in that front line.
It's not Champions League quality, though.
It's not Champions League quality?
No.
So going into the summer,
you're going to want more. Of course, you're going to want more.
I'm not saying more than one striker. If I'm completely honest.
What do you mean?
I wouldn't expect the board or the team or the club to be looking for more than one attacker in the summer.
Yeah, that's calm.
Okay.
But with Champions League football, it's the quality that matters.
Yes, it's got to be a one quality. Forward player. So I'm just testing the water to see that. All right, cool. But there's obviously other positions that hopefully in summer we're going to strengthen in. But it's looking like Champions League football is coming our way. It's still early. Things can change. But boy, next season it's only right. These players deserve it. And boy, do I want to hear that Champions League music. Before we wrap up here, the last super chat here, Hunter says, Jesus makes Martinelli better. Nketiah makes Saka better. We spoke about this just earlier, and I think there's some truth in that as well. Right, people. Thank you so much for joining us on this live between, Eddie Nketiah and Gabriel Jesus. We love them both. They're both great players, and listen, I can't wait for Jesus to return. No comparing them right now, as we are currently top of the league, but it's nice to see Eddie Nketiah flying. Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back again very soon. Turkish love every time. And to everyone watching, take care. Peace.